Let's start by making our way into tabletop hands and knees. Think about bringing your hips over your knees and your shoulders over your wrists. But if that is too much for your wrists, you can always walk your hands out. Let's spread our fingertips nice and wide, and we're gonna make our way into cat-cow. On your inhale, pull your heart forward, flip your tailbone up, looking up. On your exhale, tuck your tailbone under, round your upper back, press into the mat, and let your head dangle. Inhaling, arching, exhaling, rounding. We'll do this for a few rounds, warming up the spine and starting to link our breath and our body. By the way, my name is Shari, and I'm so glad you're here. I make videos about yoga and other ways to take care of yourself and live intentionally. Let's take one more round of cat-cow together. And then come back through your tabletop. We're going to step a left foot in between the hands and make our way into a low lunge. If you have trouble getting into this pose and you have blocks, yoga blocks, it's really nice to bring your hands up onto those blocks. Otherwise, come up high on your fingertips. We'll try to bring this front knee over the ankle, and you can walk your foot out to the side to make room if you have bosoms or a belly. And just let your hips sink down, look forward, reach up through your chest, trying to stay lifted and long. Relax through the shoulders as we begin to open up these hip flexor muscles. Whether you're sitting a lot or walking a lot, your hip flexors can become really tight and weak. So this is a lovely pose to start to open up the front of our bodies. Couple more big breaths here. If those fingertips start to hurt, you can come onto your fists. And from here, we're going to start to straighten our front leg and shift our hips back, coming into a half splits for a long hamstring stretch. Your knee may or may not straighten, no problem. But I want you to flex through your ankle and reach your toes up to the sky. And again, you can elevate onto your fingertips or blocks so that we're nice and long. And then think about hugging your left hip back and tucking your right hip forward to straighten your pelvis, to line up with the front points of your mat. A few breaths here. Keep reaching through that heart. From here, we're going to shift into a side lunge with a modified child's pose. You're just going to turn towards the center of your mat. Keep your legs straight and bring the sole of your foot to the mat. And then you're going to flip this back leg behind you so that your foot is behind your knee. Go ahead and turn your toes to face the side of the mat. Outer edge of the foot is pressing down. And you can be high up on your fingertips here, but you can also sit your hips back and then come into this modified child's pose. This is one of my favorite sequences. I do this every time I get onto my mat for the most part. It's just so seamless to go from that tabletop into that lunge, into a half splits, and then into this side lunge. We're going to follow it up with a pigeon pose as well. So a few more breaths here. And feel free to adjust and move around when you're in this side lunge. And that really goes for any pose that we do. I think there's this misconception that you have to get into the pose and immediately stay static. And while stillness is important to a degree in a yoga practice, a physical yoga practice, being able to flow with your body's needs in the moment, to me personally, is more important. A couple more breaths here. Try to keep your gaze long out in front of you. We're always looking to lengthen through the neck and pull the shoulders down away from our ears, no matter what pose we're in. Perfect. And now we're going to make our way into our pigeon. So come on up, and you're going to turn away from your straight leg. And we're going to flip this knee to this side of the mat, okay? So pick up that knee and set it down on the edge of the mat. You want it outside of your wrist, and then take a look back and straighten out that back leg. Line up your ankle, your knee, and then we'll turn forward. And once again, I'm trying to line up my hip points with the two front corners of my mat. So I have to shift my right hip out to the side a little bit. And then from here, I can feel that my right hip is now able to sink down a little bit more. Now you can stay up here on your fingertips, relax your shoulders. And for some of you, if you have blocks nearby, you might need blocks underneath your fingertips. And then as you settle, maybe you come onto forearms or bring your forearms onto a block as well. Keep the neck long, looking forward. And then bring your mind's eye to your outer hip and let it sink and settle down, down, down. Long, smooth breaths here. Perfect. We're going to make our way back up onto our hands, and we're just going to come through that tabletop once again. And my right leg's pretty tender, so I'm just going to shake it out here. I can roll the ankle and move the knee and the hip in and out a few times. Maybe even just reach back and stretch it out. And then we're going to keep going on this right side, and we're going to do everything else on this right side. So we're going to start by stepping this right foot to the front of the mat. And then I'm going to adjust. I'm going to walk my right foot out to the right, give myself a little bit more room here. And then let's lift on up through the chest, placing your fingertips wherever you need to place your fingertips or hands or fists so that you can be long through your spine. And then I'm going to consciously settle and relax this hip down. Perfect. Let's make our way into our half splits. So we're going to shift those hips back, and then maybe you need to just wriggle your heel forward a little bit, and then flex the ankle, toes pointing up. I like to keep a really soft bend in my knee. Even if I can straighten the leg, that helps me protect my knee joint. And this time it's the right hip that's going to tuck back ever so slightly, and this left hip that's going to roll forward ever so slightly, and right away you're going to feel that hamstring kind of kick in, and that stretch will deepen. Find the length through your spine here, and then just settle into the stretch, a few rounds of breath. Beautiful. Let's make our way into our side lunge. I'm going to turn back to the center of the mat, and I'm going to keep this right leg straight, but I'm going to bring the sole of the foot down. I'm going to kick my left foot behind my left knee, and then I'm going to sink back because that feels best for me, but you can stay up on your fingertips if you want to. You can stay up on your palms, or as your groin area starts to stretch, maybe come down to your forearms. Very adjustable posture. And then maybe close your eyes if that feels okay. And just settle in. Couple more breaths here. On an inhale, make your way up onto your hands. And then we're going to turn back to the other side of the mat, and we're going to bring this left knee to the left top corner, okay? So I'm going to turn on over onto my back knee, and then I'm just going to slide this left knee up, and you can walk your foot up as much as you can. Mine doesn't come up very far because I have very tight hips. I'm going to take a look back and make sure my right leg is nice and straight, ankle and foot and hip. Turn forward, and then I'm going to even out my hips. This time I'm going to tuck my right hip forward and my left hip back just a bit. And then I like to take a nice long inhale so I can find the length in my spine, and then I keep that length as I fold. So if a fold feels good for you, you can go for it, or stay up on those fingertips as long as you need to, until you can allow that left hip to just sink and relax and settle down towards the mat. It may or may not touch. It may never touch, and that's okay. Big breaths here. Take one more long, full breath. On an inhale, let's come up onto our hands. And then we're just going to sit off onto that left hip, and we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. We're going to come into a seated butterfly. Super easy transition. I like to scooch forward as much as I can, and then I like to find my sit bones, and then sitting up tall here, lifting the heart, rolling the shoulders down the back. Maybe you fold forward a little bit. Maybe you use your forearms and elbows to press down on those inner thighs. It's so not necessary, but you can. What's more important is that you're leaning your heart forward, pulling your heart forward, and that's what's really going to give you that good stretch through your hips, thighs, and groin. Couple more big breaths. Keep reaching through your chest. Inhaling to rise. Exhaling to release. I'm going to gather my knees up towards one another, soles of the feet to the ground, hands behind me. I'm going to lean back, and then I'm just going to windshield wiper my knees from side to side, and I'm just going to give my hips a break. Awesome. And let's just come to an easy seat. We'll take a breath together. Sit up nice and tall here. Let's let out all the air. Big inhale through your nose. Open the mouth, let it go. Thank you for joining me. If your body needs more, I have many more videos for you to enjoy on my channel. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Bye.